Okay, hi. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. Let's get started. I don't know why my thing's not going away. Maybe it will. But let's get started. We're in section 2 of unit 2, and this is where the homework begins. Okay, so your homework will start here with this section. So let's get started. First, let's talk about frequency tables. And frequency table is a table with two columns, and one column that lists out the categories, and the second column that lists out the frequency that those particular categories occurred in a big long data set. Generally, you're given just a big string of numbers, just a whole bunch of numbers that you will have to parse out and categorize. So this is what a frequency table looks like. And what this means is in the big set of data that we have, blue came up 35 times, white came up 28. You see what I'm saying here. Oftentimes, frequency tables are described using a graph called a bar graph. And a bar graph is a graph that is not touching. So each individual bar stands on its own. It doesn't sit next to another bar, particularly touching it. And for each category, there is a particular bar. And you can see here, let's see if I can use a pointer. You can see here that we've got blue going up to like 35, and there's frequency of 35. And if we look here at red at 19, we go over here to red and it's just below 20 at 19. So that's a bar graph. Oh, why did that happen? Okay. And here's the bar graph again, and then here it is kind of put in order from largest to smallest. And this is typically called a Pareto graph, and I'll talk about that again in a minute. A Pareto chart is a graph that is ordered from highest to lowest frequency. So here's another example where I dealt with sandwiches and the frequency: Italian sub 34, egg salad 12, roast beef 30, turkey 20, veggie 14. So we know the egg salad is going to be last, and the Italian sub is going to be the first one. And then this again is just a bar graph. Another way to display your data would be a pie chart. I know you're familiar with these. That's where the whole round takes up 100% of the data, and then we make slices that correlate to the different categories here, and you can see that we also have this going. I found this to be pretty interesting because I did colors, and then of course the colors that PowerPoint chose to put into my graph didn't match the colors, but I didn't want to spend the time to change that. So, but you can see what it's talking about here. Here I have created a bar graph and a pie chart to illustrate the grades on a history exam where 12 students made an A, 19 made a B, 14 C, 4 D, and 5 students got an F. And you can see both of those charts there. Histograms, which is what you're really going to be making here, is like a bar graph, but the horizontal axis line is a number line, and the data is grouped by class intervals. Instead of each category getting their bar, we find an interval of which a group of categories will get a bar. Okay, so each interval has to be equal in size. If the first class contains the values 120 to 129, the next one has to pick up at the next one and start with 130 and be the exact same length, which is 10 units. And you should have enough data points to have between 5 to 20 classes. That's what you want. I mean, ideally, you want about 5 classes. It'll demonstrate your data better. You don't necessarily want to have like 50. Okay, so let's look at this first example. A teacher records scores on a 20-point quiz for 30 students in their class. Given the frequency table, construct a bar graph. Okay, so let's construct our bar graph. So for a bar graph, we have to have, I don't understand what's going on here. Something seems weird. Oh, because I'm not on Well, I was on this. Now let me go to this. Okay, let's see if I can draw. I can. I don't know what that is showing up there. That's kind of weird. All right. So here we have 9 different categories. 9 categories across. We have 0, 5, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So that is the scores. This is basically the x-axis. Okay, and then we'll do the frequencies here, and it looks like the maximum goes up to 8. So let's call this 10. We'll call this 5, and we'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then we'll just draw in our bars here. Where it's 0, we go up to 2. And this is how I like to do it, but you can choose the way that you prefer. 5 is 1. 12 is 1. 15 is 2. 16 also is 2. Then we go up to 4. And then we go up to 8. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's easier to come across here and hit up where 8's going to be and then come down. And then we have 4 again. And then we have 6. And there is our bar graph based off of our frequency table. Okay, let's keep on going here. Oh, I know what's happening. I keep on pushing my arrow keys on my computer and it's just messing everything up. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is how we take the frequency table and turn it into a interval class table. Okay. And to do that, there are 3 steps, and I've actually written down the steps down here. The first thing we do is we find the range, the largest minus the smallest. So here we're looking for the range. We'll have 20 minus 0 equals 20. And then the second step says break into evenly sized groups. Okay, so if our range is 20, we could have one group of 20 data points. We could have 2 groups of 10 data points. We couldn't do 3 evenly, right? So 3 groups is out. We could have 4 groups of 5. We could have 5 groups of 4. Now notice what I'm doing. I just started with 1. I said 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 doesn't go into 20, 4 times 5, 5 times 4. That's literally all I'm doing. Okay, so we could also have 10 groups of 2, or we could have 20 groups of 1. Now that 20 groups of 1, that's a bar graph. Okay, and we don't ever want to choose that. All right. Now, what I said earlier was that we wanted to have somewhere between, 5 and 20. So we're going to go for this 5 groups of 4. That's the one I'm going to go for. We could go with 4 groups of 5, but I'm going to go with 5 groups of 4. Okay, now pay close attention here because this is so straightforward that people really get confused here. So I want you to be very attentive to what I'm going to say. Okay, so the way we set up the intervals is we start with the first data point. We say 0, and we decided that we want 5 groups of 4. So we were going to add 4 to this. So 0 to 4. And then moving down from there, we're just going to add 4 each time here. We knew that it was groups of 4, so that's what's telling us what we're going to do. So I'm not going to worry about any numbers underneath the 0. I'm only going to go down from this 4 until I get to 20. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go until I get to that last value. So 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. Now we need to complete our intervals, okay? And what that means is one interval is going 0 to 4, and the next interval is going to pick up at the next number and go 5 to 8. And the next one's going to pick up at 9 to 12. 13 to 16, and 17 to 21. Now, the reason why we do that is because we can't have any of them overlap, because we can't have a value that we can't put in one spot or the other. It can't be in both. So our intervals have to end at a definitive point and pick up at the very next point. Okay, so now I'm going to write in my intervals here. So we have the interval from 0 to 4, from 5 to 8, from 9 to 12, from 13 to 16, and from 17 to 20. And what we're going to do from there is we're going to decide from our frequency table how many are in each interval. So let's look from 0 to 4. That's going to be right here, and there's only 2. From 5 to 8, that's only going to be this guy, which is 1. But check it out. From 9 to 12, still only 1. 13 to 16 is going to be both of these here, which is 4. And 17 through 20 is the rest of these, which is 10, and 12 makes 22. So there is our frequency table. Now, I did ask to make a histogram, so let's also make the histogram. So first, let me draw the basis for our histogram here. Now, it's important for you to label each one of your intervals, and I usually use letters because it just looks nicer on your graph. Either way, you're going to have to identify each of these things. So this is going to be where A is, B is, C, D, and E. And it looks like we go up to 22. So let's take this to 25. So this would be 20. This would be 15. This would be 10. And this would be 5. It's not perfect, but I don't expect perfection from you, so please don't expect perfection from me. Okay, so now we're going to just do these bar graphs, but the thing about a histogram that's super duper important is histograms touch and bar graphs don't. Okay. And the reason why histograms touch is because a histogram shows a range from this value to that value, where a bar graph just shows one value and how many occurrences at that one value. So that's why a histogram has to touch. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm going to go up to what I would consider about 2 here. And then I'm going to go up to what I would consider to be about 1 here. Notice what I'm doing. I'm just drawing my lines. Oops, that line went away. I'm just drawing my lines. That C was a 1, 2, so those both need to be at the same. Oh, goodness, at the same. Sometimes technology whoops me in the behind. Then this one will be 4, so it'll be higher than the other one, almost there. And then this one will go up to 22. Now, I always just put the dashes and then I connect the dots, right? Then I come across here and I come down. Oops, that didn't work right, but I'll just color it in. Sorry. And then this one goes right here. We color it in to attach to here, to color this guy in, to attach to here. And then my 22 went away. I'm going to put that in. I don't know why it went away, but I don't want to ask. I got so many pieces of technology roped together here so I can do this lesson. I don't want to ask, okay? But that's a histogram. And notice a couple of things. They're touching. They touch on the sides here, okay? Because why? Because they're showing a range. Bar graphs show individual data points and their frequency, and a histogram shows the range of data points and their frequency. Okay, let's keep on going here. All right, an alternate representation of a frequency polygon, an alternate representation could be a frequency polygon. So say you're comparing two different things, okay? So in this case, I have an example where you are shooting at small targets and large targets, okay? And the frequency of hitting the small target versus the frequency of hitting the large target. And you can see that we have frequency tables, we have the ranges of the intervals, and we have a bar graph. Frequency polygons are also known as line graphs, and this is also me taking this data up here and doing it as a line graph. I won't be asking you to do anything but making histograms, but it's important for you to understand how to read all of these things. Okay, so here we are. This is what a set of data looks like. Yuck, looks pretty terrible. This is 36 students' data of the cost of their textbooks. We're going to create an interval frequency table and a histogram from this data. Now, let me show you how we're going to do it. First, we're going to make our interval, figure out our intervals for our interval frequency table, okay? So, first thing is to find the range. Okay, and that we do that by going the big minus the small. So here, when we find our range, we have 460 minus 140 equals 320. The next thing we do is we split 320 into even groups. We call them classes. So let's see what our options are here. For 320, and I'm not going to start with 1 and 320, okay? But I'm going to go for, the big ones here. Like we could do 10 groups of 32. We could do 32 groups of 10. So the 10 groups of 32 is not bad. But can you think of another two pair that could come together that would work here? I'm going to tell you 8 groups of 40. Now I'm going to use 8 groups of 40 But it doesn't matter. And know that I am going to be flexible when you do your exam for this chapter, right? If you decided you should do 10 groups of 32, cool. You do it right, 100%. Even though I might have thought we should do 8 groups of 40, cool, still. I'm going to look at what you've got going on and grade it according to how you decided to do the problem. Okay. But here I'm going to do 8 groups of 40. So now what do we want to do? We want to make the intervals. Okay. And how do we make the intervals? We start off with the lowest, and then we're going to add, how much did I say? 40 to it. So 140 to 180. And then moving down from there, we're just going to add 40s until we get to 460. I think I'm going to write across this, but that's okay. All right, so 180 plus 40 is 220, plus 40 is 260, plus 40 is 300, plus 40 is 340, plus 40 is 380, plus 40 is 420, plus 40 is 460. So we've added 40 all the way down until we got there. And then we have to pick up with the very next number here. So if we stop this interval at 180, then this one needs to pick up at 181 to 220, 221 to 260, 261 to 300, 301 to 340, 341 to 380, 381 to 420, and 421 to 460. Now, for just for room's sake, okay, I'm going to turn this right here into my frequency table. All right, this is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. All right, and we're going to determine the frequency of each. Now, from 140 to 180, now this is the best way to do it, okay? You want to go into your data and you want to make a mark. 180 is the mark. So anything lower than 180, and then 181 to 220. There's another mark. 220 to 260. There's another mark. 261 to 300. There's another mark. 300 to 340. There we go. 341 to 380. There we go. 381 to 420. There we go. And 421 to 460. If you do that, it just makes it really easy to see it, right? So let me do this too, so I can keep the numbers kind of straight. Okay, so between 140 and 180, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Between 181 and 220, there's 1. Between 221 and 260, there's 4. 261 and 300, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Couldn't keep my eyes on that. 301 to 340, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 and 5 is 9. 341 to 380 to 46. 381 to 422. 420 to 462. And then finally, it asks us to make a histogram of this. So I'm just going to slide down. We got a little bit of room here. Ignore this completely. Ignore that completely, and let's make our histogram. I'm trying to get this so I can see it. Okay. me find my pen. Okay. So here we go. And we've got A, B, C, D, F, G, and H. Perfect. And we go up to 10, I think is our max here. So we'll go 10. We'll call this 5. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got a little more marks there. Okay. So A goes up to 5. Here, let me change colors. I'll go with just green. So A goes up to 5. B to 1. C to 4. D to 7. E to 9. F to 6. 6. Come on, give it to me. G to 2. H to 2. Okay, and now I'm going to put it together. My 5 for the A went away for some reason, but I got it back. So A, touch B, touch C. Did my D go away? I think my D went away. It's supposed to be 7, but it went away. It's because I'm trying to write back and forth and it's messing it up. Anyway, there's our D. There's our E. Make sure that they touch. F. Do I expect your stuff to look any better than mine? No, I do not. I just expect that I can tell that you did it correctly. Okay, so I know there wasn't any you-dos here because really this is just something you need to get busy with. The homework for this section is homework D. Be very careful, read the directions. The directions are asking you for a few different things. So be sure to follow the directions. If you have any questions, reach out to me, office hours, email, smoke signals. Okay. Y'all have a good day.